Hey y'all, Organizing Higher, providing productivity and organization tips, tools, and resources. If you're into that kind of stuff, consider subscribing. That way you do not miss out on future videos. Going to meetings, scheduling meetings, meetings being canceled. Meetings are just going to be a part of a workforce. It's all about getting together to have conversation. So what are some things that we can do as people that are conducting meetings and as meeting attendees to help make sure that the meetings don't end up being a waste of time? Here are my recommendations. So when it comes to being a meeting facilitator or someone that's calling the meeting, the very, very important part that you want to do first before anything is determine the purpose of the meeting. What do you want to accomplish by the end of the meeting? By beginning with the end in mind, it really helps you get clarity and focus to answer question number 2, which is a meeting necessary? Sometimes we realize that we don't actually need a meeting. We can have a phone call or an email, or we can just pop over to somebody's office. I'm sure you've been there before where you end a meeting realizing this definitely could have been an email. If you have the chance to not be one of those people hosting meetings where people think at the end, this could have been an email, definitely think to yourself, is this something that I can just send out via email? The other thing you don't want to do is get into a trap where you're sending an email and the email is 45 paragraphs long and it's been back and forth emails over the course of 2 weeks. That takes way more time than a 30-minute meeting. So determine what you need to accomplish and if it is best accomplished via a phone call, a quick email, or if you really do need to have a meeting. So if you've begun with the end in mind, you have an idea of what you want to accomplish, you determine that you need to have a meeting. Next, you want to figure out who needs to be here, whose voice needs to be contributing to the meeting. Notice that keyword, needs to be. There's one of 2 things that could happen here. 1, you are inviting someone to a meeting they do not need to be at, and you've just wasted their time. Or 2, you have not invited someone to a meeting they needed to be at, and you've just wasted everyone else's time. Both of those outcomes are bad and you want to avoid them. So think politically, think strategically, who needs to be at the table here? And if you're not sure, you can always ask when you send out the meeting request. I've identified this person, and this person to attend. Are there some people that you think are missing that would need to contribute to this conversation? That could be a really great place to start. If you're finding that your meeting invitee list is 20, 30, 50 people, I really challenge you to reflect on how all of those people could possibly contribute to a meeting. If you need to, try to have subcommittees or sub-meetings. That way every person that's at the meetings have buy-in and aren't just sitting there listening to other people talk around them. There's nothing more infuriating than sitting at a meeting that you feel you can't contribute to or that you have nothing to contribute to. By having subcommittee meetings, that allows people to feel buy-in to those subcommittees, and then when they go back to the larger committee meeting, they have buy-in for being there, particularly if you're having some type of subcommittee report and they get to report on the work that they've been doing as a subcommittee. So you know what you want to accomplish, you know who's going to be there. The next step is to put together an agenda. The agenda should keep in mind your outcome. What do you want to accomplish? Understanding that sometimes meetings are about determining what you want to accomplish, but even having that as your end goal can be helpful. If it's a brainstorming session, it's really great to just have that up front. If you put it in the agenda, that allows people to be able to see very clearly what to expect. It also acts as guideposts as you're going through the meeting to make sure that you're doing things that are keeping you on topic and keeping you moving forward to your ultimate goal of accomplishing whatever it is that you've decided you want to accomplish in the meeting. Depending on the meeting, you can develop your agendas collaboratively or not. So you can either start an agenda yourself and then send it out to the other members of the meeting and ask if they think of any other ideas that should be discussed at the meeting. That can be one way to be collaborative about your meetings. Or you can just decide these are the things that we're going to be talking about at the meeting. I don't think one way or another is better. Just think about your group and what you want to accomplish with your group. The benefit of having a collaborative agenda is if people have contributed something, they have more buy-in because they automatically feel like their voice and their opinion is being heard and they have the chance to speak up, which can be really empowering. The benefit of having a non-collaborative meeting is it allows you to control what the conversation is, and ultimately the pacing and the topics that are discussed are determined by you and you alone. This can be really great if you have a particularly chatty group who you know tends to kind of get off track a little bit. So if you want to help them keep them focused, then you can work that in. Alternatively, if you have a group that's usually very task oriented, but you're trying to work with them on being a little bit more social, you can work in things like icebreakers or team builders, and that's something that you can do on your own. Sometimes it helps to include time estimates for how long you're going to spend on a particular topic. This can be really important if you have a lot of tasks that you need to accomplish. Maybe you have guest speakers, you're doing some voting, you're going to be brainstorming. Putting a timeline on certain activities really ensures that you're able to fit in everything that you want to do. And it's okay to be flexible and recognize if some things go over or run a little bit short, but it helps to, again, give you some of those guideposts to keep you on track with moving you towards your ultimate goal of whatever you've decided you want to accomplish during your meeting. When you can, you want to send the agenda out at least 24 hours in advance. This serves two purposes. Number one, it reminds people of the meeting that's coming up. And this allows them to also get a sneak peek about what they can expect, kind of like a trailer for the meeting, if you will. If there are items from the previous meeting that they needed to produce for this upcoming meeting, it also reminds them to produce those things. And sometimes you can save paper by just asking people to either print their own agenda or to just bring their own agenda to the meetings, which is great. When it comes time to end your meeting, give yourself maybe 5 to 10 minutes at the very end to just wrap up the conversation and recap what you've done. This could include recapping decisions that you've made, recapping action items, what people said that they would deliver and by when, and any kind of follow-up that might be needed. This also allows people to clarify things, and if you have someone that's taking meeting minutes, they'll probably really appreciate that last-minute recap so that way they can double-check their meeting minutes. This also helps keep you honest, so you can recognize if you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish by the end of the meeting, or if you've gotten a little bit sidetracked. It helps bring you back together right before the meeting ends when people are going to be rushed anyways, and then you can move forward and decide collectively, do we need to have another meeting? When are we going to be having another meeting? What's going to be the next steps or the next actions from here? You can even include on your agenda a section for action items. I'll leave a link in the description below where you can access a free template that I've used for meeting agendas. It really outlines what you're talking about, who's going to be there, the date, the location, and then at the bottom is a space not only for note taking, but for action items. So someone who is assigned a task or some type of follow-up can write on their agenda who's doing what, and then we very quickly send that out. If you use the same structure every time for your agenda items, this can also be really helpful to include again when you're sending out the new meeting agenda. So if we're meeting on Tuesday and we're meeting again next Tuesday, when I go to send out the meeting agenda for next Tuesday, I'll include the action items that we discussed in this current meeting. So again, it reminds people who might have forgotten, oh crap, I forgot I said I was going to do that thing before the next meeting. It reminds them and is accountability for everyone. Here's what Joey said that they were going to do by next Tuesday's meeting. You can also send that out as a recap after the meeting, and that creates more group accountability. You can send it with meeting minutes, or you can just send it as a follow-up email recapping the meeting. So you're not necessarily telling them, oh my gosh, your meetings are terrible and we talk in circles and nothing ever gets done, right? Don't do that. You can very gently and kindly offer a solution to a problem that they don't realize that they have. This will really help everyone in the group benefit, especially you. And then ideally, the person that's facilitating the meeting will see the difference between a meeting facilitated the way that they had originally planned and the meeting being facilitated based on some new tips tips and techniques that you've provided. This is another great way that you can show your leadership skills without even necessarily being in a leadership role. If you found this content helpful, please like and subscribe and leave a comment below letting me know which part you liked best. Share this video with other people, and that helps to get the word out about my channel as well. As always, thank you so much for watching and enjoy the rest of your week.